This is the calming sequence that I promised you. A lot of these exercises are very simple and restorative in nature, so take your time. You might want to do more reps and be in these positions longer than I recommend, and that's okay. Just use your best judgment. Some of these positions might feel really good at the start. Others, you just might need to give your body a little bit of time, depending on how long it's been since everything's been flat, straight, even, and flush with the ground, which for most of us has been a long time. So take your time with this sequence, use your best judgment. If something doesn't look like it would feel good, just skip it and avoid it, and maybe come back to it at a later time. You can do this sequence for anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks to continue benefiting from it, but check it out, and I hope that this helps relieve some stress. Lie on your back with your legs over a chair or an object that allows you to get a true 90-degree bend at your knees and your hips. This object must be high enough to allow you to relax your legs completely while they're held at a 90-degree angle. If your legs want to fall out to the side once you're in this position, that's asymmetry and torque, tension showing up in our body. It's okay to either raise the platform a little higher, or you can grab a belt or a yoga strap and tie it up around your thighs and have that belt or strap hold your legs in place. I want this to be a position of zero work for you. There's nothing to do here but to breathe and allow gravity over the next 5, 10, or 15 minutes to just open you up and pull you back down towards the ground. So, take a couple deep breaths. And on your next exhale, I want you to close your eyes. Feel how your body is making contact with the ground. Does one side feel heavier or different than the other? Now, there's no fancy breathing techniques here. No in through the mouth or out through the nose, no holding at the top or full exhalation. I want you to bring just awareness to what the natural rhythm of your breath is doing. This gentle, subtle, rising and falling sensation that's created with each breath. There's no thought you need to bring here. There's no technique you need to bring here. This is you for maybe the first time practicing awareness without control. And this is day one, and this technique is going to help serve you over not only throughout the rest of the sequence, but in a lot of other elements and aspects of life as well. Can we just observe something without bringing any emotion or any thought to it, and just sit back and allow this natural mechanism and rhythm of the breath take a hold? Again, you're going to spend anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15 minutes here. And before we go on to the next exercise, I want you to get that sense of, okay, things have relaxed and released a little bit, and maybe you feel a little bit more even laying on the ground than you did at the start. When you feel like it's time, go ahead and start the next exercise. Lie on your back with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor, pointed straight ahead. Put a pillow or a block directly between your knees. You want something firm enough that doesn't allow your knees to move inward too much. A soft pillow would allow too much movement. So find something that maybe you can fold in half that gives you a firm, textured pushback. Place your arms out to the side at a 45-degree angle with your palms face up. Squeeze your knees inward into the pillow and then release. Repeat for the recommended number of repetitions. The purpose of this exercise is to get your hips to sync up together using the inner thigh muscles and the front of your hips, your hip flexors. Your abs should remain relaxed, your lower back's relaxed, and your breathing should be nice, slow, and rhythmic throughout the entire duration of this exercise. Balance and symmetry check. Be mindful of, do both hips work together at the same time, speed, and intensity? Is the work on one hip in the same exact spot on the opposite hip, or is it different? This is how imbalance and asymmetry shows up within your body, and over time, this will balance and level out. Lie on your back with your knees bent and the soles of your feet flat on the floor. Place your arms out to the side in line with your shoulders, so you're making a letter T position with your upper body, palms face down. Cross your left ankle onto your right knee. Let your hips twist and fall outward to the floor to your right until your left foot and right knee hit the floor. Think about pivoting around your right foot to do so. Be careful not to allow the right foot or leg to slide at all from this original position. If you can't get to the floor, you can put a block or a support underneath your foot or knee so that they can rest on at their furthest point, and eventually you will be able to take that support away and get down to the ground. As your legs, hips, and pelvis twist to the right, gently turn and twist your head to the left. Once you're in position, press your left knee away from your body using the muscles in the outside of your left hip. It's incredibly important to breathe in and out through your stomach, allowing each inhale to make your stomach and sides expand with air, and then each exhale, your stomach and sides fall back in. This is called east to west breathing. Keep your upper body and shoulders relaxed as you're in this position and hold for the recommended time. Make sure to repeat on the other side, and as always, for your balance and symmetry check, be very mindful as to how both hips feel when you do this. Do you feel like one hip rotates more than the other? Most people at the start feel a substantial difference with where they feel the stretch on one side when compared to the other side. This is just how imbalance and asymmetry has shown up, and this will rebalance out over time with this sequence the more consistent you are. Lie on your back with your arms out to the side, palms face up, and arms 45 degrees. Your feet are going to be placed flat on the floor with both feet pointed straight ahead. Bring the bottoms of your feet, the soles of your feet, together as your knees drop down and open up down to the sides. Relax in this position, but make sure that the bottoms of your feet are actively held together. All 5 toes on your right foot should be flush, in line, and touching all 5 toes on your left foot. Do not force range of motion in this position. Let gravity and time do its job to externally rotate and open both hips as you diaphragmatically breathe. Just being in this position will place a slight arch in your lower back. This is how your knee position can affect your spine function. So breathe and ease into this position. Balance and symmetry check. Pay attention to how both hips feel in this position. Do you feel like one hip can rotate lower to the ground than the other? Maybe one hip feels tighter. Maybe there's a stretch in one and work in the other. Remember to breathe, and over time and with consistency, this exercise will balance out. Interlace your fingers together, lock your elbows out straight, and point your arms directly straight towards the ceiling. Keeping your elbows locked out, slowly bring both hands up and overhead as you move your hands closer to the ground. Remember to not force anything in this position. You want to find and discover your natural function and natural range of motion as you bring your arms overhead and then bring them right back to pointing directly up towards the ceiling. Balance and symmetry check. Do both shoulders open up the same? Do they both move the same? Or does one feel tighter than the other? What about your hips? Does that also translate to an imbalance with your hips? The purpose of this exercise is to open up your hip as well as reestablish the function and gliding mechanism of your shoulder blades. Think of this as a hip and shoulder opener. Lie on your back with your knees bent, feet hip width apart, and both feet pointed straight ahead. Your arms are going to be 45 degrees out to the side with your palms face up. Roll your hips backward and flatten your lower back to the floor. Use your butt muscles to do this movement. Then, using the muscles in the front of your hips, roll your hips forward to arch your lower back. You're going to repeat this as directed, and you're constantly exploring the relationship between the butt muscles, your glutes, and the front hip muscles, your hip flexors. Your glutes should roll your pelvis back, flattening your lower back, and your hip flexors should roll your pelvis forward, bringing an arch to your lower back. Most people might try to use their lower backs and abs to do this exercise at the start. I want your hips to drive this function and your hips to control your spine position instead of your lower back and your abs moving your pelvis. This is going to be a breakthrough for you when you can really understand this function and incorporate it. The idea and function of this simple little exercise is going to show up not only through the rest of this entire program, but it's going to show up in literally every single motion as you move through the day. Are you a pelvic and hip-driven mover, or do you drive all your motion through your spine? Take your time with this one. This is one of those slow, subtle, but incredibly impactful exercises. For some people, it might be intense, but the purpose here is not intensity. The purpose is function. So take your time. Place your arms out to the sides at a 45-degree angle away from your body with your palms face up. Lightly contract the muscles of your glutes, which are your butt muscles, on and off without moving anything else. Make sure to keep your abs, your stomach muscles, relaxed throughout the entire exercise. Also, be sure to avoid tucking your pelvis or having any movement at all. We want to get the glutes and your butt muscles to just work by themselves. Your breathing should be rhythmic. Your belly should be rising and falling as you turn your glute muscles on and off, and nothing else should be helping out. It's okay if it does. This is how compensation works. When one muscle, like your glute muscles, don't work for a while, they learn to bring other parts of your body in with their function. As time goes on, you're going to find that your glutes start to work independently by themselves with a significant greater level of ease. Balance and symmetry check. Do you feel both glutes working the same? Is the contraction in the same spot? Are you able to get just your glutes and nothing else to work? Or do you have to tilt or flex or squeeze something just to even find a position to get your glutes to work in the first place? This is all how compensation and imbalance works with your body. Stand with your feet 4 to 5 inches apart, parallel to each other and pointed straight ahead. Curl the tips of your fingers at the first knuckle so the fingertips touch the top of the palms, but the palms still remain open, thumbs pointed out. Bring your knuckles to the sides of your head by your temples with your palms facing in front of you and your thumbs pointed down. Bring your elbows together in front of you to touch, and then back to your sides, as far back as they can go without your shoulders raising up too high. Try to keep your elbows high and the shoulders low so that they don't elevate throughout the entire motion. Your stomach muscles should remain relaxed, and you're going to repeat this motion back and forth in a slow fashion. People try to use speed to power through this. I want you to really think about your shoulder blades coming back together and then separating as your elbows move out in front of you. This exercise is about reestablishing the gliding mechanism of your shoulder blades. Most of our shoulders don't get enough movement on a daily basis, and this helps to remind them that they should possess their full range of function and motion. Balance and symmetry check. Pay attention to if you feel like one shoulder moves higher than the other as you're doing this exercise. It can be really helpful to do this in front of a mirror if you have one. If not, just pay attention to how it feels. Maybe one shoulder feels like it's fatiguing or working harder or faster than the other one. This is just how imbalance and asymmetry are showing up within your body, and it will start to balance out over time and consistency with this sequence. For this exercise, I recommend that you place a pair of athletic shoes on to give your feet a little bit of grip on whatever surface you're going to do this with, whether it's carpet or hardwood floor. Place your back against the wall and keep your feet and knees 6 inches apart. Walk away from the wall until you are in a seated position. Your hips are going to slide down the wall as your feet move forward. And make sure to keep your feet 6 inches along with your knees 6 inches apart. At no point do I want your ankles or knees going wider or closer than your hip width. Your hips should be slightly higher than your knees when you're in the final position. Your ankles should be slightly in front of your knees as well. Put pressure on your heels to drive your pelvis back into the wall. Your entire lower back should be flat on the wall too. This might seem counterintuitive because this whole program is geared to change your posture and to pull you upright and open you up. But for this exercise, I don't want any muscle in your upper body to work. We are trying to put the force and the tension back into your pelvis without your spine trying to take over. So your lower back should be relaxed, your shoulders and neck should be relaxed. We're diaphragmatically breathing, allowing your belly to go in and out with every single breath. Hands on your legs, palms face up. The goal of this is to not only get your legs to work, but equally to teach your upper body to not work. So pay attention to how your upper body feels throughout this exercise. Do you try to close your fist and tense up and shrug your shoulders just to get through? Or are you able to completely shut down your upper body as your lower body figures out how to work? Throughout this exercise, most people try to jam their toes into the ground and make this a knee-loaded position. I want to gently remind you to guide the weight back into your heels so you truly feel like the quads, the muscles in the front of the thighs, are doing all the work. Balance and symmetry check. Pay attention to how both knees look. Are they the same height? Do you feel the work evenly in both legs? Or do you feel one side take over more than the other? Another way to look at balance is what I mentioned earlier. Are you able to let your upper body relax, or do you constantly tense it up to get through this exercise?